Good news for landlords with some research from Good Lord around rental arrears, only up 2% as a result of the coronavirus crisis. I would say that's good news for tenants as well, because that shows that a lot of the government support measures that came in, which a lot of tenants will be claiming and accessing, are actually working and the money's flowing through relatively quickly. Now, we would like to see more support from the industry. A lot of landlord groups are calling for universal credit to be sped up a little bit, maybe for there to be a little bit more flexibility on how much is paid with universal credit, especially in relation to housing, to support tenants who may have been in a position where their housing component of universal credit or the local housing allowance wasn't fully meeting their rent and they had to top up. Well, obviously that's a lot more difficult in these situations where people are being furloughed, people are on reduced hours at this point in time. So it would be great to see a bit more government assistance in that area. But overall, the picture is looking pretty good and there's not a huge amount of rental arrears right now. Demand and inquiry levels have been going up, looking like a post-lockdown bump in the amount of home moves. A lot of lettings agents, a lot of the portals reporting a big flurry of people browsing. Now, unsurprisingly, there's been a lot of browsing around, areas, properties with gardens in kind of more rural areas and also seaside areas where there's more outside space. I think probably some people jealous of those people who've got nice back gardens and social isolation in your back garden being a little bit more comfortable than being stuck inside in a small flat. But it does look like there is a kind of bump in activity coming for the marketplace overall. Now, this is interesting because this coincides at the same time with some research that's been done into the effect of some government measures that have been in place for the last 5 years or so. The idea being to kind of remove amateur landlords from the property market overall. The government, you might remember going back a number of years now, had a stated aim that they wanted to remove that kind of amateur entry level of landlords from the marketplace who were going after the cheap entry level properties that are normally the domain of first time buyers. They wanted to kind of make it easier for the first time buyers to get those. And that's where the increased stamp duty rates, the premium for second homes came in. That's also where the mortgage interest rate relief rules restricting the deductibility of mortgage interest came in. We also saw some changes to underwriting for high value loans and things like that, tightening up of criteria for buy-to-let investors. All of these things were kind of aimed at cooling down the investment market a little bit, but these very targeted measures were aimed at a particular segment of the investor market, the speculative investor or the amateur investor who's buying something that in the government's view, they shouldn't be buying that. They should be buying, or first-time buyers should be buying those nice, easy entry-level properties. What the government actually wants is a smaller number of more professional landlords, which ties in with exactly the business model that we talk about, that we kind of teach, which is making sure that you're building a large, efficient, business-like portfolio where you're complying with all of the relevant safety measures, where you're operating more in a kind of build-to-rent type scenario, even if you're not building from the ground up, even if you're buying towards that kind of build-to-rent model where you believe that you're in the market as a long-term landlord. Now, just to give you some figures, the industry has lost 220,000 landlords since 2012, a huge amount of those being landlords who owned less than 3 properties, so very much the amateur end of the landlord market. There's also been 156,000 rental properties lost since 2017. Now, that's potentially one of the unintended consequences of this, because I think the government did want the amateur landlords out of the marketplace, but they still desperately need that rental stock available in the marketplace. And we see part of that is the mortgage interest rate relief rule changes, but also the tenant fee ban last year gave a lot of landlords pause to think about their portfolio and maybe shed some things. And that probably ties in with big increases in rents, especially in the second half of 2019. However, at the same point in time, we have also had a big increase in the number of landlords who own more than 3 properties, an indication that there are more professional landlords like ourselves in the marketplace now, and we're meeting the need that the government wants at this stage. For me, what this looks like is further opportunity to grow your portfolio and to provide good quality accommodation, something that is clean, comfortable and safe for tenants. And remember, tenants are your customers. Good customer service, providing great quality accommodation that people want to live in. You're going to have customers lining up to rent your property. So think of it that way. The days of the adversarial relationship between landlord and tenant are well gone. What you want to be is you want to be someone who delivers excellent accommodation to tenants, a landlord who's really good to do business with, because we do have a whole lot of tenants who need these properties and are looking to rent them for the long term. Now, this is what we train people and we coach people in doing. We are here to help you design your portfolio in such a way that it's future-proofed, and also to make sure that with these changes going on in the marketplace, with landlords exiting the marketplace, you're in the best position to swoop up some of these great property deals as well. So we would love to help you do this, but in order to jump on this, you really do need some support. You need the expert guidance of someone who knows what they're doing, who's done it before as well. So why don't you put yourself into a situation where you're getting coached around this, where you're accountable to somebody else, where you've got some objectives to meet on a weekly or a monthly basis to make sure you're focused and you're really maximizing your opportunities in this current market. There's more detail in the link attached to this video.